The morning sun shone brightly on the wide streets of the city, casting long shadows from the tall buildings. In one corner of the busy avenue, a car dealership stood, bustling with activity. The smell of polished metal and new car interiors mixed with the faint scent of coffee from the small cafe at the corner. Inside the dealership, the atmosphere was lively. Salespeople moved quickly, answering calls and guiding customers while the sound of car doors opening and closing echoed across the showroom floor. The dealership manager walked in, his shoes clicking against the shiny tiles. He was a man of strict discipline, known for being serious about rules and expectations. His sharp eyes scanned the room as he checked the floor, making sure everything was in order. He stopped by the reception area, greeting the staff briefly before moving toward the showroom. His presence carried a sense of authority, and employees straightened up immediately, adjusting their posture. He noticed a couple of customers walking around, testing cars and asking questions. Everything seemed normal, until he spotted a man entering the dealership. This man was dressed casually, but there was something different about him. He walked with confidence, holding himself in a relaxed manner that immediately drew attention. The manager's eyes followed him, noting every detail. The man's casual style contrasted sharply with the polished, professional environment of the dealership. The man approached a salesperson, asking detailed questions about a car that had just arrived. He wanted to know about the engine, the safety features, and even the fuel efficiency. His questions were precise, showing knowledge beyond that of a typical buyer. The salesperson tried to answer, but the man seemed to challenge every response as if testing the limits of the information given. The manager observed from a distance, feeling his patience start to thin. He was used to customers asking questions, but there was something in this man's tone that felt different. It was not just curiosity, it was scrutiny, almost like the man was inspecting the staff more than the cars. The manager decided to approach, walking briskly toward the man. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, his voice firm but polite. The man looked up, meeting the manager's gaze with a calm smile. He nodded and replied, "Yes, I'm interested in this model. I have a few questions about the specifications." His voice was steady, carrying a tone of confidence that did not intimidate him, but instead commanded attention. The manager's eyebrows furrowed slightly. He was not used to being met with such calm assurance. He repeated his question, this time with more authority. "Do you need assistance, or are you just browsing?" The man explained that he was seriously considering purchasing the car, and his detailed questions continued. He asked about financing options, maintenance schedules, and even the dealership's warranty policies. The manager noticed that the man's questions were specific, as if he knew exactly what to look for. As the conversation continued, the manager's frustration began to grow. He felt that the man was being overly critical, questioning the integrity of the dealership and the knowledge of the staff. In his mind, the situation was becoming more than just a regular customer inquiry. He felt the need to assert control, to maintain order and authority. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that he was the manager and had the final say in how interactions on the floor should go. The manager leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice but keeping it firm. "I understand that you have questions, but our staff has already provided all the necessary information. If you're not satisfied, perhaps this is not the right place for you." The man's calm demeanor did not change. He nodded slightly, acknowledging the manager's words but not responding defensively. It was clear that he was unbothered by the confrontation. The manager felt a mix of irritation and disbelief. How could someone remain so composed when being challenged so openly? Finally, the manager made a decision. He straightened up, his tone firm and resolute. "I'm going to ask you to leave," he said. "We cannot continue this conversation if you are not willing to respect our staff." The man paused, his eyes meeting the manager's. There was no anger, no resistance. He simply nodded as if he had expected this outcome. Without another word, he turned and walked toward the exit. The manager watched him leave, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction mixed with lingering unease. He believed he had handled the situation correctly, asserting his authority and defending his team. As the man disappeared out of sight, the manager returned to the showroom, straightening his tie and adjusting his jacket. He made a mental note to discuss the incident with his staff, warning them about customers who might challenge them in similar ways. Meanwhile, the staff exchanged glances, whispering softly among themselves. There was a mixture of admiration and curiosity about the man who had just been asked to leave. He had carried himself with an unusual confidence, and his questions had been intelligent and insightful. They wondered who he was and why he had acted that way. Outside the dealership, the man walked calmly down the street, blending into the morning crowd. He did not appear upset or frustrated. Instead, there was a quiet satisfaction in his steps, a sense of patience and understanding that the interaction had unfolded as it should. He made a phone call, speaking briefly and efficiently, giving instructions in a tone that was calm but commanding. Those who passed him on the street would never have guessed that he was more than just another customer. There was a sense of purpose in his movements, a quiet confidence that came from knowing the bigger picture. Back inside the dealership, the manager continued his rounds, checking cars and speaking with staff. He recounted the incident in his mind, feeling that he had demonstrated leadership and control. Yet despite his confidence, there was a small voice of doubt. Something about the man's composure, the knowledge he displayed, and the calm way he had accepted being asked to leave lingered in the manager's thoughts. It was an unusual encounter, unlike any he had experienced before. The rest of the morning passed with the usual rhythm of the dealership: phones ringing, customers browsing, salespeople demonstrating cars. But in the back of the manager's mind, the memory of the man remained. He could not shake the feeling that there was more to the visitor than met the eye. There was a curiosity, a subtle intrigue that he could not explain. Who was this man, and why had he come to the dealership? The questions lingered, but the manager pushed them aside, returning to the tasks at hand. He reminded himself that his job was to run the dealership efficiently, to manage the staff, and to ensure that customers were treated properly. The incident, though unusual, was just one of many encounters in a busy workday. As the day progressed, the staff continued their work, though occasional glances toward the entrance betrayed lingering thoughts about the man who had been asked to leave. They spoke quietly, speculating about his background, wondering if he was a wealthy buyer, a secret investor, or simply someone testing the dealership's policies. The manager overheard some of the whispers but chose not to intervene. He felt that the man's behavior had been inappropriate and that his own actions had been justified. Still, he could not ignore the subtle ripple of curiosity that had spread among the staff. In the afternoon, the manager sat in his office reviewing sales reports and planning for upcoming promotions. He thought again about the man and the unusual encounter. He considered the possibility that the man might return, and a small part of him felt a strange anticipation. It was not a feeling of fear or worry, but rather an acknowledgement that this visitor had left an impression that could not be easily dismissed. The manager leaned back in his chair, reflecting on the day's events, unaware that the encounter had set the stage for a series of events that would soon change everything about the dealership. As evening approached, the dealership began to quiet down. Customers trickled out and salespeople tidied their areas, preparing to leave. The manager walked the floor one last time, checking that everything was in order. He felt a sense of accomplishment for maintaining control and enforcing the rules. Yet in the back of his mind, the image of the man lingered, the memory of his calm, confident demeanor, and the way he had handled being asked to leave stayed with the manager as a quiet reminder that not all encounters are as they seem. Some experiences carry hidden significance, waiting for the right moment to reveal their true meaning. The manager had no idea that this was one such encounter, and that the man he had dismissed would soon become a central figure in the dealership's future. The next morning, the dealership opened just like any other day, with sunlight streaming through the large windows and reflecting off the shiny cars in the showroom. The manager arrived early, walking through the lot, checking that every car was parked neatly and that the floors sparkled. His mind, however, kept drifting back to the man from the previous day. The encounter had been unusual, and even though he had asserted his authority and asked the man to leave, a small sense of curiosity remained. The staff seemed to sense it too. Some exchanged glances, quietly whispering about the man who had left with such calm confidence. While the manager was conducting his morning rounds, a couple of employees came to him with small updates about the day. They mentioned normal inquiries from customers, small issues with paperwork, and some minor car maintenance questions. All of it was routine, yet the air was thick with the unspoken curiosity about the previous day's visitor. One of the salespeople mentioned, almost jokingly, that the man seemed like he knew more about cars than anyone else they had seen. The manager chuckled lightly, dismissing the comment, but he felt a twinge of unease. There was something about the man's knowledge and behavior that seemed out of place, almost too precise for a casual buyer. By mid-morning, the dealership began to see a steady flow of customers. Phones rang constantly and salespeople moved briskly between visitors, showing cars, answering questions, and guiding them through the paperwork. The manager observed everything, keeping an eye on the staff and maintaining the flow. It was a busy day, yet his mind occasionally drifted back to the man. He wondered what kind of person would be so calm and composed when being asked to leave. It was a small distraction, but it lingered like a faint shadow in the corner of his thoughts. Around late morning, a few staff members gathered for a brief meeting in the back office. They discussed sales goals, upcoming promotions, and some minor adjustments to the showroom. The manager led the meeting, speaking with authority and confidence. Yet he could not shake the thought of the visitor. He remembered the calm nod, the polite acceptance, and the way the man had not shown even a hint of anger. It was unusual, and it made the manager question his own assumptions. Could he have misjudged the man? The thought lingered but was quickly dismissed as he focused on his duties. In the middle of the day, a phone call interrupted the usual flow of activities. A representative from a corporate office called, mentioning an important update about the ownership of the dealership. The manager listened carefully, noting the details as they were given. There was a mention of a change in leadership, but the specifics were vague. The call ended with the assurance that more information would be provided soon. The manager felt a strange mixture of curiosity and concern. He could not yet grasp the full significance of the call, but a sense of anticipation settled over him. Something was changing, and he could feel it in the air. Throughout the afternoon, the staff continued their work, though a sense of tension and curiosity began to build. Conversations were quieter, and occasional glances were directed toward the entrance as if expecting someone. The manager noticed the subtle shift and felt a mixture of pride and unease. He had maintained control of the dealership, but the air seemed charged with the possibility of unexpected events. He reminded himself to stay focused, to continue managing the floor efficiently, and to maintain authority over his team. Meanwhile, the man from the previous day was quietly observing from a distance. He moved through the city with purpose, making several phone calls and giving instructions. Each call was brief but carried authority, showing that he had an important role to play. He was calm, collected, and patient, understanding that the timing of his actions was crucial. He had not returned to the dealership yet, but he was preparing for the next steps. His mind worked steadily, carefully planning the transition that would soon take place. As the afternoon wore on, the dealership staff continued to speculate about the man's identity. Some thought he might be a wealthy investor, or an important figure in the automotive industry. Others believed he was just an unusual customer who had stumbled into their store. The manager overheard these conversations but did not intervene. He believed that the man's behavior had been inappropriate and that he had handled the situation correctly. Still, the curiosity persisted, lingering like a quiet hum beneath the normal rhythm of the dealership. In the early evening, the corporate office sent an official email confirming the ownership change. The new owner had purchased the dealership, though the identity of the owner was not yet disclosed to the staff. The manager read the message carefully, noting the instructions to maintain regular operations during the transition. A small feeling of anticipation mixed with concern settled over him. He was unaware that the man he had asked to leave yesterday was the very person who now owned the dealership. The irony of the situation was yet to reveal itself, but the manager would soon realize that the encounter had far greater consequences than he could have imagined. As the day came to a close, the dealership quieted down. Salespeople tidied their areas, organized paperwork, and prepared to leave. The manager conducted one final round, checking that everything was in order. He felt a sense of accomplishment, confident that he had maintained control and ensured that the dealership ran smoothly. Yet in the back of his mind, the image of the man lingered. The calm demeanor, the quiet confidence, and the detailed knowledge had made a lasting impression. The manager could not shake the feeling that there was more to the visitor than he had realized. Outside the dealership, the man moved through the streets with a sense of purpose. He stopped at a cafe briefly, observing the city and making notes on his tablet. His calm presence and focused demeanor set him apart from the hurried crowd around him. He knew that the next day would bring an important moment, and he prepared quietly, understanding that timing and patience were essential. Everything he had done so far had been deliberate, calculated, and thoughtful. That night, the manager returned home reflecting on the events of the past 2 days. He thought about the man, the encounter, and the unusual circumstances that had unfolded. While he felt he had acted correctly, a small sense of doubt lingered. He realized that not all encounters are simple, and that sometimes the people we meet can have a hidden significance. Little did he know the man's return would soon reveal a surprising twist, changing everything about the dealership and the way he viewed his own judgment. As the city lights twinkled outside his window, the manager prepared for the next day, unaware that it would be unlike any day he had experienced. He focused on his responsibilities, planning for regular operations and the ongoing sales. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet tension grew, the anticipation of a revelation that would soon unfold. The man who had left the dealership calmly the day before was about to return, and the consequences of that return would challenge the manager's assumptions, test his authority, and ultimately create an unforgettable moment that would be remembered by all who worked there. The next morning began like any other at the dealership, with sunlight spilling over the polished cars and the air filled with the faint scent of new leather and metal. The manager arrived early, adjusting his tie and walking briskly across the showroom. He had spent the night reflecting on the previous day and the mysterious visitor who had come and left without a word of complaint. Something about the man's presence had lingered in his mind, a quiet echo that he couldn't shake. The staff noticed his thoughtful mood and whispered among themselves, speculating about what could be weighing on the manager. As the morning progressed, customers arrived, phones rang constantly, and salespeople moved with practiced efficiency. The manager kept a watchful eye on everything, ensuring that the day ran smoothly. Yet there was a subtle tension in the air, an unspoken feeling that something unusual was about to happen. He couldn't have known that the man from yesterday was preparing to return, and this time, with a presence far more significant than anyone anticipated. Late that morning, the receptionist approached the manager, her voice calm but curious. "There's someone here to see you," she said. "He asked to speak to the manager personally." The manager looked up, feeling a twinge of recognition. He walked toward the front desk, straightening his jacket as he approached the visitor. The man standing there was calm, composed, dressed neatly but not overly formal. His presence commanded attention, and the manager felt an odd mixture of anticipation and unease. The visitor spoke first, his voice calm and deliberate. "Good morning. I wanted to introduce myself properly. I am the new owner of the dealership." The manager froze for a moment, disbelief written across his face. His mind raced back to the previous day, to the encounter where he had asked this very man to leave. The realization hit him with sudden clarity. He had kicked out the new owner without even knowing it. His face turned pale, and he felt a flush of embarrassment mixed with astonishment. The staff, who had gathered quietly around the entrance, gasped and exchanged astonished glances. Some covered their mouths in surprise, while others whispered softly among themselves. The atmosphere shifted instantly, a mixture of tension, disbelief, and curiosity filling the showroom. The manager struggled to find his voice, wanting to apologize but unsure where to begin. The new owner's calm demeanor made the situation even more striking, as there was no hint of anger or resentment in his eyes. After a brief pause, the new owner continued, addressing the manager directly. "I understand that you were doing your job and protecting your team. I appreciate your dedication and your commitment to maintaining standards. That said, I wanted to meet you personally to discuss how we can work together moving forward." The manager, still in shock, nodded slowly. He realized that the man's approach was thoughtful and composed, designed not to embarrass or punish but to create a constructive moment for learning and collaboration. The manager invited the new owner to walk with him through the showroom. They moved slowly, observing the cars and the layout, discussing the operations and the staff. The manager explained the daily routines, the sales process, and the challenges they faced. The new owner listened attentively, occasionally asking questions, showing genuine interest in understanding the dealership from the manager's perspective. His questions were insightful but delivered in a tone that encouraged dialogue rather than confrontation. During their walk, The manager noticed how the staff reacted to the new owner. Some were visibly nervous, unsure of how to behave around him, while others looked intrigued and curious. The manager realized that this was more than a simple meeting. It was an opportunity to set the tone for the future of the dealership. The new owner's presence had already begun to influence the environment, bringing a sense of focus and purpose. At one point, they stopped near a car that had been recently added to the showroom. The new owner examined it carefully, noting details that most casual customers would have overlooked. He commented on the quality of the materials, the design, and even small aspects of the assembly. The manager watched in amazement, recognizing the depth of knowledge and understanding the new owner possessed. It was clear that this was not just a business transaction for him. It was a genuine interest and passion for the work. As they continued their discussion, the new owner shared his vision for the dealership. He spoke about enhancing customer experience, improving staff training, and creating a culture of respect and collaboration. His approach was calm, strategic, and motivational, designed to inspire rather than intimidate. The manager listened closely, realizing that the visitor he had dismissed the day before had far greater insight and authority than he could have imagined. The conversation eventually turned to the incident from the previous day. The manager hesitated, unsure of how to address it, but the new owner brought it up gently. "I know we had a misunderstanding yesterday," he said. "I want you to know that I am not upset. In fact, I see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Every interaction teaches us something about ourselves and how we can improve." The manager felt a mixture of relief and humility. He realized that this was a rare moment, a chance to receive guidance from someone who truly understood leadership and management. The new owner then asked the manager about his approach to handling customers and staff. They discussed strategies for effective communication, conflict resolution, and creating a positive work environment. The manager shared his experiences, explaining how he managed difficult situations and maintained order in the showroom. The new owner listened carefully, offering suggestions and insights that were both practical and encouraging. The manager began to see the value in his perspective, recognizing that collaboration and understanding could lead to better results than strict authority alone. By mid-afternoon, the atmosphere in the dealership had shifted. Staff members were more relaxed, inspired by the presence of the new owner and the constructive dialogue taking place. The manager felt a renewed sense of purpose, realizing that this encounter was not just about authority or control, but about growth, learning, and mutual respect. He began to understand that leadership was not merely about giving orders, but about guiding, mentoring, and empowering others. The new owner spent several hours in the dealership, observing, listening, and engaging with both the staff and the manager. He asked questions, offered advice, and encouraged open communication. The manager, initially apprehensive and embarrassed, found himself growing more confident and receptive. He realized that the new owner's approach was designed to build trust, foster respect, and create a collaborative environment where everyone could thrive. As the day drew to a close, the new owner addressed the entire staff, expressing appreciation for their hard work and dedication. He spoke about the importance of teamwork, respect, and continuous learning. His words were met with attentive silence, followed by nods and quiet smiles. The manager felt a deep sense of gratitude and respect for the man he had once dismissed, recognizing the wisdom and leadership he brought to the dealership. When the new owner finally left, the manager stood in the showroom, reflecting on the events of the day. He realized that his assumptions and judgments had been challenged, and that he had learned a valuable lesson about humility, patience, and understanding. The encounter had not only changed his perspective, but it also set the stage for a new chapter in the dealership's story. The staff, inspired and motivated, began to share their own reflections and ideas, creating an atmosphere of positivity and collaboration. That evening, as the manager returned home, he thought about the visitor's calm demeanor, insightful questions, and strategic approach. He understood that leadership was more than rules and authority. It was about guiding others, fostering growth, and creating an environment where everyone could succeed. The memory of the encounter lingered, a reminder that every interaction carries potential for learning and transformation. The manager went to bed with a sense of anticipation for the future, unaware of the many ways the new owner's presence would continue to shape the dealership and his own journey as a leader. The next morning at the dealership, the air was filled with an unusual energy. Word had already spread among the staff about the new owner and the events of the previous day. The manager arrived early, walking briskly through the showroom, feeling a mix of anticipation and responsibility. The memory of meeting the new owner lingered in his mind, reminding him of the lessons he had learned and the humility he had felt. Today, however, he sensed that the experience would deepen even further. Customers began arriving, phones rang, and the usual bustle of the dealership resumed. But the atmosphere felt different. The staff moved with a sense of purpose inspired by the presence and guidance of the new owner. There was a renewed sense of energy, and even routine tasks seemed to carry more significance. The manager noticed the subtle changes in his team. Conversations were more collaborative, questions were more thoughtful, and interactions with customers were handled with increased patience and care. In the late morning, the new owner returned to the dealership, arriving quietly but with an unmistakable presence. The manager, who had been reviewing sales reports in his office, received a call from the receptionist. "He's here," she said softly. The manager felt a moment of tension, quickly composing himself before stepping out to meet him. As he approached the entrance, he felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. The new owner's calm confidence filled the room, and the staff instinctively straightened up, sensing the significance of his presence. The new owner greeted the manager with a warm smile. "Good morning," he said. "I wanted to check in and see how everything is going today." The manager, still feeling a bit overwhelmed by the events of the previous day, nodded and replied, "Everything is running smoothly. Thanks to your guidance, we are all focused on making sure the dealership continues to operate efficiently." The new owner listened carefully, nodding in approval, and suggested they take a walk through the showroom together. As they walked, the new owner engaged the manager in a detailed discussion about operations, staff performance, and customer interactions. He asked thoughtful questions, probing gently but with clear interest in understanding the dynamics of the dealership. The manager found himself speaking openly, sharing both challenges and successes, feeling that his insights were valued rather than judged. It was a collaborative conversation, filled with mutual respect and understanding. During the walkthrough, they stopped near a group of salespeople who were assisting a customer. The new owner observed quietly, noting how they handled questions, demonstrated features, and maintained a professional yet friendly demeanor. After a few moments, he addressed the manager. "Your team is doing well, but there is always room to grow. Encouraging them to think creatively and take initiative can make a significant difference in their interactions with customers." The manager listened intently, appreciating the constructive feedback and realizing that the new owner's approach was focused on empowerment rather than criticism. The conversation soon turned to the incident from the previous day. The manager felt a flicker of embarrassment, but the new owner spoke with a tone that was both gentle and instructive. "Yesterday's interaction shows that first impressions can be misleading. People often have more depth than we initially perceive. The way we respond shapes not only their experience but also our own perspective. Your decision was understandable, but it also highlights the importance of patience and observation." The manager nodded, taking in the words carefully. He realized that leadership involved continuous learning, and that even small moments could carry valuable lessons. They continued their walk, discussing strategies for improving customer engagement, optimizing sales processes, and creating a positive work environment. The new owner encouraged the manager to share his ideas and insights, emphasizing that collaboration and open communication were essential for growth. The manager felt a renewed sense of purpose, understanding that this partnership could transform the dealership into a place where both staff and customers thrived. Midday approached and a few employees gathered to greet the new owner. They were initially nervous but soon relaxed as he spoke with warmth and encouragement. He asked about their experiences, listened to their suggestions, and acknowledged their hard work. The manager observed the interactions, feeling a mix of pride and admiration. He realized that the new owner's approach created an atmosphere of trust, respect, and motivation, inspiring everyone to perform at their best. Later, the new owner invited the manager to his office for a private discussion. They sat down, and the conversation turned to long-term goals for the dealership. The new owner shared his vision, emphasizing the importance of innovation, customer satisfaction, and employee development. He highlighted the value of recognizing talent, providing opportunities for growth and fostering a culture of mutual respect. The manager listened attentively, feeling a sense of alignment with the new direction and eager to implement the ideas discussed. As the discussion progressed, the manager reflected on his own experiences and leadership style. He recognized areas where he could improve, particularly in communication and empathy. The new owner offered practical suggestions, emphasizing the importance of listening, understanding diverse perspectives, and adapting to challenges with flexibility. The manager felt encouraged, realizing that this mentorship would not only benefit the dealership, but also contribute to his personal and professional growth. The afternoon passed with a series of meetings, walkthroughs, and interactions with staff and customers. The new owner's presence continued to influence the atmosphere, creating a sense of focus and positivity. The manager noticed subtle changes in how the team approached tasks, handled customer inquiries, and collaborated with one another. There was a growing sense of unity, purpose, and motivation, driven by the leadership and guidance provided by the new owner. As the day drew to a close, the new owner addressed the manager privately once more. "Leadership is not about asserting authority, but about inspiring others," he said. "Your dedication and commitment are evident, and with continued focus on growth and collaboration, the dealership will thrive in ways that exceed expectations." The manager felt a profound sense of gratitude, recognizing the transformative impact of the encounter. He understood that the lessons learned would shape his approach to leadership, communication, and decision-making for years to come. When the new owner departed for the day, the manager stood in the showroom, observing the staff as they completed their tasks. He felt a deep sense of responsibility and purpose, knowing that the guidance provided would have lasting effects. The atmosphere was charged with motivation, collaboration, and optimism, a testament to the impact of thoughtful leadership and mentorship. The manager reflected on the journey so far, understanding that every interaction, every decision, and every moment carried potential for growth and transformation. That evening, the manager returned home, contemplating the events of the day. He thought about the new owner's calm demeanor, insightful guidance, and empowering approach. He realized that leadership was not about enforcing rules alone, but about nurturing talent, fostering respect, and inspiring collaboration. The experience had reshaped his understanding of authority, responsibility, and the importance of perspective. As he prepared for the following day, he carried with him the lessons learned, ready to embrace the future with renewed determination, humility, and a sense of partnership that promised to transform the dealership and the lives of everyone involved. The following morning, the dealership seemed alive with a renewed sense of purpose. The staff moved about with energy and focus, conversations filled with ideas and encouragement rather than routine chatter. The manager arrived early, walking through the showroom with a keen eye for detail, feeling a mixture of pride and responsibility. After the experiences of the past few days, he had begun to understand the subtle yet profound impact of thoughtful leadership and collaboration. The memory of the new owner's calm and insightful presence lingered in his mind, shaping his thoughts and actions. As the morning progressed, customers began to arrive, each greeted warmly by the staff who now seemed more confident and attentive. The manager observed the interactions carefully, noting how employees applied the guidance and encouragement shared by the new owner. There was a visible change in demeanor, a subtle shift in energy that reflected motivation, confidence, and teamwork. The manager felt satisfaction and excitement, realizing that the positive influence of the new owner was already beginning to manifest in tangible ways. Mid-morning brought a familiar sight. The new owner returned once more, his presence calm, commanding, yet inviting. The staff greeted him respectfully, some still in awe of the previous encounters. The manager approached him, feeling a mix of anticipation and humility. "Good morning," the owner said warmly. "I wanted to spend some time observing and working with the team today." The manager nodded, understanding the significance of the moment. Together they began walking through the showroom, discussing operations, staff development, and the experience of customers. During their walkthrough, the new owner engaged with staff members directly, asking questions about their roles, challenges, and ideas for improvement. Each employee spoke openly, sharing thoughts they might have previously kept to themselves. The new owner listened carefully, acknowledging their contributions and offering gentle guidance where appropriate. The manager observed closely, appreciating the way the new owner empowered his team, turning what could have been a formal, intense environment into one filled with trust and collaboration. At one point, they stopped near a customer who was interested in a new car model. The new owner watched silently as the staff member explained the features and options. After the conversation, he approached the employee, offering constructive feedback with encouragement and clarity. "You did well," he said. "Remember, listening carefully to the customer and understanding their needs will make the experience even better." The manager noted the impact of this approach. Staff members responded not out of fear of correction, but out of genuine desire to learn and improve. As the day continued, the new owner and the manager discussed long-term strategies for the dealership. Topics included improving customer satisfaction, increasing sales efficiency, and fostering a workplace culture that valued communication, respect, and personal growth. The manager contributed his insights, reflecting on challenges he had faced and potential solutions. The conversation flowed naturally, a blend of mentorship, collaboration, and practical planning. The manager felt increasingly confident, realizing that his role was evolving from strict enforcement of rules to active leadership and support. During lunch, the new owner invited the manager and a few staff members to a small meeting area. He spoke candidly about his philosophy of leadership, emphasizing the importance of trust, patience, and learning from every experience. He highlighted the incident from the previous week, using it as a teaching moment to illustrate that initial impressions could be misleading and that humility and understanding were key qualities for anyone in a position of authority. The manager listened intently, absorbing every word, feeling grateful for the lessons shared in such a supportive and practical manner. After lunch, the focus shifted to training exercises. The new owner observed sales presentations, customer interactions, and staff teamwork, providing tips and guidance to enhance performance. Each interaction was treated as a learning opportunity, fostering growth rather than highlighting mistakes. The manager noted the remarkable change in his team's demeanor. They were more engaged, motivated, and confident, applying the advice and encouragement offered throughout the day. As afternoon turned into evening, the new owner held a meeting with the manager to outline specific initiatives for the future. Plans included staff workshops, customer engagement programs, and operational improvements to make the dealership more efficient and welcoming. The manager contributed his own ideas, creating a collaborative plan that balanced strategic goals with practical considerations. The conversation was productive, inspiring, and filled with a sense of shared purpose. The day ended with a staff gathering in the showroom. The new owner addressed the team, expressing appreciation for their dedication and highlighting the importance of teamwork, respect, and ongoing personal development. He emphasized that success was built not just on sales but on the relationships and trust cultivated within the dealership. The manager stood nearby, feeling a deep sense of pride and respect for both the staff and the new owner. He realized that the dealership had entered a new era, shaped by collaboration, mentorship, and shared vision. After the new owner departed, the manager reflected on the journey of the past few days. From the initial encounter, where he had unknowingly dismissed the very person who now led the dealership, to the present, he had learned invaluable lessons about humility, patience, and leadership. He understood that authority was not merely about rules or control, but about inspiring, guiding, and empowering others to achieve their potential. The transformation he observed in himself and his team was both rewarding and humbling. That evening, as the manager returned home, he thought about the remarkable events and the profound impact of the new owner's presence. He reflected on the importance of perspective, the value of thoughtful communication, and the power of mentorship. The experiences of the past week had changed his approach to leadership, instilling a renewed sense of purpose, empathy, and strategic thinking. He understood that his journey was ongoing, that every day would bring opportunities for growth, learning, and meaningful interactions. The manager's thoughts lingered on the idea that every person encountered could hold lessons and insights, sometimes hidden beneath appearances. The experience with the new owner had taught him to approach interactions with openness, patience, and humility. He resolved to carry these lessons forward, not only in his professional role but in his personal life as well, recognizing that meaningful leadership and respect for others could create lasting positive change. The dealership, under the guidance of the new owner and the renewed leadership of the manager, began to thrive in ways that exceeded expectations. Staff members were more engaged, customers were more satisfied, and the workplace culture had transformed into one of collaboration, learning, and shared success. The manager felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that the challenges faced and lessons learned had created a foundation for continued growth and achievement. As night fell and the city lights glimmered, the manager reflected on the journey that had begun with a seemingly ordinary encounter. What had seemed like a routine day had transformed into an extraordinary series of experiences that reshaped his understanding of leadership, trust, and the human capacity for growth. The story of the dealership, the manager, and the new owner stood as a testament to the power of patience, humility, and collaboration, reminding all who witnessed it that even unexpected challenges could lead to profound and positive transformations.